Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of NinaRibena's Art Journal Prompts and More. We're into week 5 of April's spring prompt, and this is what I'm going to create today. Now I've introduced a little bit of recycle, repurpose and reuse into this, and I'll show you what I've been using in a minute, but this is what they look like. I just love these, and I've done a video already, but I'm going to start again because I've just had one of those days with just, too many interruptions, and the video is too long as well, so I'm just going to try and do it again, and I'd like to make a few more. I just love these. I have made these with vertical blind samples. I've got a whole book of vertical blind samples that I've had in my craft room for years. I mean, we're talking probably 8-10 years possibly. I've even sent some of these out in Happy Mail over the years as well, hoping that somebody would come up with a brilliant idea for using them. I know that Dee from Betsy Doodle picked up a whole roll of this stuff from the scrap store a couple of years ago, but finally an idea sprung to mind, and this is it, and I just think these are gorgeous. Now these are made out of different materials. This one here is 100% polyester. They're heavily textured. This one here is called calico, and this is 25% polyester and 75% cotton. So you could always substitute calico for this. You could maybe use Tyvek as well if you stabilised it by gluing it onto a piece of cardstock. This is called linen. This is 70% polyester and 30% linen, and I think these two are 100% polyester. Yes, they are, but just really textured. Now, I don't know whether you have blind companies near you. I know they're everywhere in the UK, but you might be able to pop in and just grab a couple of samples. So I'm going to get started. I know that someone's bound to ask what I'm using as my drop paper. I've got a piece of Teflon. I picked up a whole roll of this at the scrap store a few years ago, and I have used this as sort of like a heat-proof craft sheet in the past. The trouble is, when I'm using colour, the colour just sticks to the mat and doesn't wipe off. So I've decided to turn it over because it's white on the back, and this is sort of not terrible. It's great as sort of like a cloth to work with, and I thought it would make great book covers, so I'm just using this as a drop sheet today. Now let's have a look. Which I'm going to choose these two blind samples here, and I'm just going to use various colours of acrylic paints, mainly in blues and greens. I want sort of lights and darks. I've got a bit of this lime green here, and so I'm going to put this onto speed so that you can see what I'm doing. Now you can see here I've just put a few dabs of paint onto the blind samples, and I'm spraying it with some water. This is just to help the paints move around more easily on the fabric. It's just a bit difficult to get it to blend at first, and you've got to work at it and just keep adding more paint and more water. It is a bit messy, as you can see, but I take advantage of the puddles that I've got going on because of course it's fabric. It just the liquid just seeps straight through, and so I just keep dabbing it onto the other pieces of the blind sample as well, and just adding more paint until I get a colour blend that I'm happy with. And I just continue to work on these, and I start working on some of the other blind samples as well that I've got, just to take advantage of all of that leftover paint that's slopping around on my desk. As soon as I'm finished with these, they'll need a really good dry with my heat tool before I'm ready to move on to the next step, but I just continue working until I'm happy with the colour blends that I've got. basic backgrounds. I just love these, and all that texture just really shines through. I just think they're fabulous, and they're all different. They're all blues and greens, but I think that those colours work really well with the flowers that I want to add later. I think this one here is my favourite. That was the brownie coloured one. Just love that. So what I want to do now is do some stamping. So I'm going to grab some of this purpley coloured paint. This is Matte Iris, and you can see that, you know, the paints come off pretty easily. So this is one of the Pebeo Deco creams, as I say, in Matte Iris, and I'm just going to put a little bit down here. I'm going to smooth it out so that it's nice and flat with my finger, stamp off the excess onto all the white areas of my drop paper. Don't want to waste anything. Hang on a second, let me just grab a wipe as well, and then I want to grab some stamps. I had them a second ago. Here we go. I want to use this one, in fact no, not that one. Here we go. I want to start off with this one here. These are the Dylusions background stamps, and I'm just going to take these one at a time, and I'm going to dip my stamp pad in and stamp over these backgrounds just to add a little bit of background interest. Not too much, trying not to go overboard. There we go. That will do, I think. There we are. And I shall do this to all of them, give them a quick dry. Let me show you another one, this one here. And once I've finished stamping, I will wash my stamp as well. Because I'm using acrylic paint, I don't want this to dry on this stamp because it would just ruin it. So I've continued stamping on all of these, and that's what they look like. And I want to add some script now, and I'm going to use my StazOn in Midnight Blue. And I've got this grungy, grotty old script stamp from my stash. And again, I'm just going to add a little bit of detail. Overlapping, not being too precise at all about where this goes. So these have all been stamped, and finally I just want to use another one of the Dylusions background stamps, and some Dylusions white paint this time, just to brighten things up a bit with some white. You see, I just think that makes a really big difference. It just brightens everything up. It's the following day, and I'm back with my backgrounds. They've had overnight to dry, so they're ready for me to work on. You need to make sure that your fabric isn't soggy if you're using fabric for these. So let me show you. This is what I've got. I've got these two here, and then these ones here. I think this one is still my favourite. I just absolutely love the texture of this one here. Now I want to use some oil pastels to add my focal images, and I'm going to be using these two sets here. I've got the Beryl oil pastels, which are the scraggy old bits that are left in the bottom. These are not water soluble oil pastels, just, you know, regular cheap ones. I think this set was Alex's when he was doing art at school. And then I purchased a new set last year when we were doing the autumn leaf rubbings, and this is the Pentel Arts oil pastels, and this comes in 50 colours. Again, a really inexpensive set. I think this was £6 or £7 from Amazon for all 50 colours, and that's what those look like. Now I've picked out a few shades that I want to use. I'm going to try and use up some of my bits, but I want to use this purple colour here, this slightly deeper redder purple. I've got a lighter purple and white, and of course this pink here. So I think we'll start off with this one here. And I want to, in fact, let me just stick out because I just love the shape of these. I want to try and replicate these. Of course, if I try and replicate it, it'll look nothing like it, but that's what I am aiming for. And I think I'm going to start off with the lighter colour, and I just want to draw a tulip shape. So I'm going to do something like that, and I can alter this as I go along as well, if I'm not sort of entirely happy with the shape that I've got going on. And I think I'm going to do this in reverse. I shall do the slightly taller one on the left hand side. So I want my shape something like that. So this one really needs to sort of come down a little bit more. Maybe that one can go up a little bit more like that. And these are just so easy to adapt your shape. If you don't get it sort of quite right to start off with, it really doesn't matter. And I'm going to add some white to the center of this, and you know, it looks sort of really scribbly. I want some of that deeper color as well. Maybe add some like that, and I'm just going to blend with my finger and get these colors to blend together. And it's a bit tricky at first until you've got sort of a good layer of your pastels down. Trying to keep that white in there. So just keep adding more. In the same way with the acrylics, when we were doing the backgrounds, it takes, because it's fabric, it takes quite a lot of your crayon to get coverage, in the same way it did with the paint, because it just soaks straight into the fabric. And I'm just going to keep playing with this, adding more and more layers until I'm happy with the blending and the coverage that I've got. Now that I'm happy with my tulips, I want to add an outline using a Stabilo All pencil, which is a water soluble pencil. So I just go around the tulips and then I just smudge them with my finger just to give them that smudgy, dreamy look. Stabilo All is water reactive, and I'm just using a damp baby wipe here just to put some liquid onto my finger, and just so that I can just smudge them and make them stand out just a little bit more. And again, I want to add a border to my blind sample, and I'm using the black Pentel oil pastel to do that, and just smudging it with my finger. It is with all the shading added. I just love these. I don't know, there's something about the blendability of these oil pastels that I'm just absolutely loving at the moment, and they just add this lovely dreaminess which I just really like. That's how it compares to the first one I did. So you know, the shapes of the tulips are quite different, but I just love that. So this one here, I've chosen these colours. I've got my white, which I've just taken the wrapper off. I've got this yellow here, an orange, and these little pieces of pink, and I'm going to start off with the white, and somewhere roughly in the middle of the page I want to do sort of like a semicircle, because that will be the center of my flower. So there we go, we'll start off with that, and I think I'm going to blend it first. Don't faff, Nina, just doesn't have to be perfect, although you see me sort of going over and over and over again, and it makes no real difference really. So blend that in, and I can add some more colours to that. I think I'm reasonably happy with that shape. And then I think I'm going to start off with the yellow so that it's quite bright. So I'm just going to draw some petals, and keep twisting your page when you're drawing petals. Have you ever drawn flowers where they're all sort of wonky? And it's what happens when you keep your page in the same place, so twist it and you just get much better shape petals. And I can make these bigger if I want to as well. If I'm not quite happy with the size, you know, that's fine. So, you know, that one's too straight on that side there. There we go. And then that one will just go off like that. So that's my basic flower shape. So I'm going to start sort of colouring this in as well. With the colour and the basic shape of my flower. I just think that's really vibrant and lovely, and you could see that it's just a case of building up those layers and colours until you end up with something that you're happy with. You could always use oil, a little bit of oil on your finger as well if you want to try oil pastels and you're having a bit of a hard time blending them, but this is just my way of doing things. I'm happy to do it this way. I'm going to use my Stabilo awl now just to outline the flowers. And again, I'm just going to blend the black with my finger, and I'm using a damp baby wipe as well, just to, because of course I'm using Stabilo awl, which is water soluble, and so I just get a nice smudgy effect just by adding a bit of water as I blend it. I want to add just a bit of yellow to the centre of the flower as well. I keep playing with this, trying to get the shape of this right. There we go. And again, I'm just going to use the black Pentel marker just to add a border. Pentel crayon, not marker. I glued my quote onto a piece of white cardstock, and so that's worked really well. And finally, I just want to add a little bit of detail with a white Posca paint pen. I'm just going to add a bit of doodling around the outside like this. Just being careful. Don't want to spoil it at the last hurdle. here are my finished blind samples. I just absolutely love these. I love the colours. I just thoroughly enjoyed working on this as a substrate as well. It just feels so nice. I will at probably tomorrow, once these have had a chance to settle and dry, give these a coat of spray fixative, because of course they blend, and if they were touched a lot, for one, you get sort of greasy, oily, waxy fingers. So I will spray these with a spray fixative. But there they are. Now I've also got the backgrounds left as well. These were the 3 other backgrounds that I created, and I've got ideas for these, something completely different. So when I'm ready to do that, I'll share that with you. Now, alternatives. If you can't get hold of blind samples, but you just like the idea of doing something like this, here's an alternative for you. These are vinyl wallpaper samples. And these would be a great alternative because, you know, the thing that I enjoyed and what I think gives these their character is the texture. It's just wonderful, wonderful texture, and you'd get a very similar effect using any of these types of vinyl wallpapers. Now, if you can get hold of any of these, I would advise that you coat the wallpaper in a coat of gesso before applying any paint. It would be a lot kinder on your fingers than using blind samples. But I think these would work just as well. You could also use burlap fabric or Hessian fabric, calico, you know, that type of thing as well. So plenty of options if you can't get hold of blind samples. I just thought this was a great, you know, recycle, repurpose, reuse project. So thoroughly enjoyed doing that. So my quotes: a kind word is like a spring day and full of the joys of spring. Really, really simple. And here's the ones that I showed you at the beginning of the video. So that's how these two compare. This one has only got 5 petals, whereas of course these have got more. So that's those. Then that's the other tulip one I did. I've also done this one here. I've got a couple of other backgrounds that I've created as well. So, you know, as I say, I'll be sharing more ideas at some stage. But I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope, you know, that's given you some ideas of, you know, things that you can try yourself. Have a go at these oil pastels. They're great fun to use. So if you enjoyed that, as always, I would really appreciate a thumbs up, because, you know, it just lets YouTube know that you like what I'm doing, and let me know what you think in the comments below. I love to hear what you have to say, and of course, you know, it just lets me know who's watching the videos as well. So take care everyone, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.